The first series of Doctor Who's 2005 revival did exceptionally well for the BBC, and now showrunner Russell T Davies and his team had a better idea of what worked and what didn't. The only unknown quantity now was new Doctor actor David Tennant and whether or not he could pull it off. As we are all aware now, Tennant's portrayal is one of the most popular incarnations of the Time Traveller, and Series 2 is on the whole beloved by fans. That being said, something has to be the worst and something has to be the best, so I'm Cy for Who Culture, and this is every episode of Doctor Who Series 2, ranked from worst to best. Number 11. Fear Her. Series 2, for all of its successes, is not immune to bad episodes, and it has two back-to-back, unfortunately. Fear Her, however, inches out the competition. The episode handles the then upcoming 2012 Olympic Games and a small girl who has developed surprising powers, gifted to her by a childlike alien entity that has lost its way on a flight across the stars. Chloe has the ability to trap people in her drawings, but can also bring some to life, except when it's inconvenient to the plot. Seriously, a scribble comes to life immediately, but her drawing of her demonic dad has to wait for the story to say so. Writer Matthew Graham, who co-created Life on Mars, shows hints of his spectacular writing, but the script just feels sloppy and undercooked. It makes the Doctor more British than ever, almost comically so, as he quips "top banana," which just feels incongruous to the rest of the character's writing. Weirder still is all the talk of the Doctor appearing throughout history, but being someone that only the most hardened conspiracy theorists can discover, yet the episode ends with the Doctor smiling wide on live television, delivering the Olympic torch to the stadium without security intervention. Number 10. Love and Monsters. Now and then it can be quite interesting to see the effect the Doctor has on the universe without him taking centre stage. Love and Monsters is a comedic search for the truth behind the man from those whose lives he's changed. Whereas Fear Her had moments that didn't connect with the series' overall tone, Love and Monsters at least lovingly jabs at the show. Mark Warren puts in a decent turn as awkward everyman Elton, but it's hard not to criticise the episode for its misuse of UK comedy legend Peter Kay, who gets to do very little. There are flashes of brilliance in its silliness, but understandably some of it may put fans off. The closing moments of Elton discussing his relationship with Ursula, who is now a face on a slab of concrete, are certainly designed to throw viewers off a little, and it worked. The production team needed this Doctor light story in order to make their schedule work. Furthermore, the rather bland Absorbaloff design was a necessary addition, since it won a competition to be included in the show on kids' programme Blue Peter. Thus, Love and Monsters is an unfortunate product of circumstance. Number 9. New Earth. Kicking Series 2 off, Rose and the new face of the Doctor arrive at a hospital on New Earth in the far future. There are a lot of bright sparks in this episode, such as the introduction of Cat Kind and the welcome returns of Cassandra and the face of Bo. But more than that, Tennant and Piper are clearly having tons of fun. As the story progresses, Cassandra telepathically throws her consciousness back and forth between the Doctor and Rose, and both leads get to try out playing the pompous, self-obsessed villain. Tennant acting as though a sentient piece of skin has taken control of his body is one way to start a new series. New Earth does end with a bit of a whimper, however. The main conflict is Cat Kind using captive people infected with every virus ever to develop cures for incurable diseases. This sort of trails off without much of a point to it, and ends with the Doctor using these miracle cures for their intended purpose. Despite being an odd choice for an opener, it's a fun, if flawed, little romp. Number 8. Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel. Brilliantly, this series' first two-parter takes us to a parallel world. Here the writers reintroduce the Cybermen with a new backstory and a new design that allows the show to put a fresh spin on a classic foe. Some spot-on casting sees Roger Lloyd Pack as John Lumick, the wheelchair-bound scientist constructing a metal army as a way to escape death. When it comes time for the man to be killed by his own creation, as is the way with these things, it is slightly goofy that the man in a wheelchair comes complete with a new upgraded cyber chair. Murray Gold gets the number 1 spot on the podium for these episodes though, turning in a brilliant cinematic score that includes the bombastic Cyberman leitmotif that has followed them throughout New Who. In general, Gold's work on Series 2 is brilliant, but this is the moment where you sit up and truly take notice. The Cybermen would not be as menacing without his music. The real negative marks against Rise of the Cybermen and Age of Steel, however, are just that they're big and not particularly clever. This two-parter has action, espionage, and some thrills, but despite featuring one of the most iconic villains in the franchise, it lacks the special sauce that makes Doctor Who great. Flashy, yet predictable. Number 7. Tooth and Claw. Arriving in the moors of Scotland in 1879, the Doctor and Rose find themselves acting as advanced guard to Queen Victoria. Her Majesty has been run off course and plans to stay the night at the Torchwood estate. Unbeknownst to them, the grounds have been taken over by a mysterious sect of monks with a lycanthropic secret. Series 2 doesn't necessarily have a jump scare or a spooky moment in every episode like the previous season, but when it comes to fright-focused stories, it doesn't fool around either. Tooth and Claw bumps up against things that go bump in the night as our heroes attempt to survive a werewolf attack, and we discover that Her Majesty actually plays into the solution to their problems. It's a fabulously written story with just the right amount of twists and heart, managing to ride the line of panic and pondering about the afterlife. As only his third story ever, Tennant is effortlessly charismatic, and the chemistry with Piper is already beginning to bubble away quite spectacularly. Also, for what it's worth, the 17-year-old CGI in this episode doesn't look too bad, all things considered, and at the time it was a statement about the show's clearly increased budget. Number 6. School Reunion. What happens to the companions who are left behind? That was the core pull of this Series 2 story, where the Doctor infiltrates a school to take down the shape-shifting Krillitanes. Sarah Jane and K9's welcome return is a fantastic hook that adds to the universe, rather than just acting as a throwback for throwback's sake. It's not all a celebration, there are uncomfortable conversations to be had between characters both new and old. Returning characters and school dinners give this episode a nostalgic air, an adventure of childlike wonder as students' brains are forced into solving the great equation of the universe. Not to mention Anthony Head as a sort of demon headmaster figure, chewing scenery and wide-mouthed screaming with abandon, making full use of the role. School Reunion may sit firmly in the middle of this list, but it's a fantastic example of Doctor Who's range. It begins as an odd, quirky little setup, with Tennant posing as a teacher, and then ramps up to dire consequences and questions about the morality of the Doctor's choices. Number 5. The Girl in the Fireplace. Some episodes of Doctor Who feel like a bunch of disconnected ideas that have been expertly sewn together, and The Girl in the Fireplace is perhaps the best example. Visiting a seemingly abandoned spaceship, the Doctor discovers time windows that step into the life of French historical figure Madame de Pompadour. Also, the Doctor rides a horse. It's mad, but it's brimming with Moffat's sharp writing, memorable moments, and sparks flying between Tennant and his new love interest played by Sophia Myles. The Clockwork Men are scary, and the mystery is captivating. This episode won the 2007 Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form and was lauded by critics and fans. It's often called one of the best since the show's relaunch, and this is all fair, but it isn't exactly perfect. Not only does the Doctor's newfound relationship with Madame de Pompadour feel very weird considering he first meets her as a child, but it's a major stick in the spokes of the ongoing story. Series 2 is so good at subtly building the romantic tension between Ten and Rose, and the Doctor briefly falling for another woman and Rose having nothing to say and little to do doesn't do it any favours in that wider context. The Girl in the Fireplace absolutely deserves its praise, but it's not immune to criticism since it's the only story in Series 2 that takes such a misstep. Number 4. The Christmas Invasion. The Christmas Invasion may technically be a Series 1 episode to some, but as the springboard for Tennant's arrival, we decided to put it here instead. With the Doctor recovering after absorbing the time vortex, humanity is helpless as an alien invasion begins. The Sycorax have a cool name, a great look, and quite a brilliant plan, using blood control to command a third of the world to stand on the roofs of buildings, presenting their ultimatum: surrender or they die. With a new generation of fans experiencing the jitters of not knowing how much they might like the latest regeneration of the Doctor, audiences can relate to Rose's conflicted emotions. And throughout it all, we have flashes of brilliance from Tennant, wild, untamed energy, and spectacular comedic timing. Naturally, of course, it's the final act where he shines. Blasting out of the TARDIS in a dressing gown, no less, the Doctor spins off a stunning monologue about the situation before him, as well as the unpredictable nature of regeneration. He has a sword fight with the Sycorax leader, and we even have a surprise move from the returning Harriet Jones, who destroys the fleeing Sycorax ship. This episode is not just reassuring that things are going to be fine, it's a statement of intent. The 10th Doctor has arrived and changed this show forever. Number 3. The Idiot's Lantern. The Doctor and Rose find themselves in 1953 London during the coronation of Queen Elizabeth. Here, a parasitic creature called the Wire is feeding off the faces of those who buy cheap television sets. While this story does unfortunately have similarities to Fear Her, The Idiot's Lantern is a better celebration of British culture, with fantastic set dressing and far better villains. Not necessarily just the Wire, but the violent and rude bully Eddie Connolly. Forget aliens and androids, this guy is the real deal, and actor Jamie Foreman makes him exceedingly exceedingly easy to hate. Tennant standing up to him full of rage and bile is excellent to see. While Rose is sadly more absent here, this does allow for the Doctor to work with others to offer some variety to the series. Save for some holes in the script, the Idiot's Lantern has a fantastic sense of identity. It's a rare scary episode with some, at the time, unnerving CGI moments, but the Idiot's Lantern manages to be fun as well as frightening. It's stylish, well shot, and always moving, despite its subplot that centres on rather intense and contained family drama. Number 2. The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. The Doctor and Rose find themselves aboard a space station that is inexplicably in the orbit of a black hole. With the power of human curiosity, the crew is mining the planet to find the source of immense power that is stopping them from being pulled to their doom. Unlike the Idiot's Lantern, which had all the raucous energy of a fun adventure, the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit take a slower and more thoughtful approach. This story is a sci-fi horror B-movie masterclass with set dressing akin to Alien and a brilliantly unconventional yet soon-to-be iconic alien species in the Ood. Our heroes work alongside a crew of guests to debate science and eventually religion and belief in a script that dares to challenge. Visually, it's truly the stuff of nightmares, with the demonic possessions of both Toby and the usually soft-spoken Ood. Having the Doctor face down what is essentially Satan sounds farcical, so it's credit yet again to the script that it works, especially since the CGI here has certainly dated. This would be a winner in almost every series of the show, if not for a particular season finale. Number 1. Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. On June 15th, 2006, Billie Piper announced that she was leaving Doctor Who. Thus, fans knew that something major was coming in the finale, which was set to air a few weeks later. Week to week, the Doctor and Rose's relationship grew, and it was made mention that they would never stop travelling together, but knowing it was coming didn't soften the blow one bit. Brilliantly connecting back to the Age of Steel and tying off the Torchwood mentions, our heroes discover a breach between two universes. Energy pours through that appears to be ghosts, but is in fact invading Cybermen. In one of the greatest cliffhangers of all time, they have unknowingly followed the Daleks through the breach. We might have known Rose was leaving and that Cybermen were present, but nobody saw the introduction of the Cult of Skaro coming. The brilliance of Army and Ghosts and Doomsday is how they managed to be exciting and action-packed, as well as touching and emotional. Rose's departure from the show is one of the most discussed moments of Doctor Who ever, with Ten's image fading away before he can say his final words to her. Crushing. It's an epic final story for the series, and a dragon which the show has chased every year since, trying hard to organically top the three-way war of Torchwood, Cybermen and Daleks, while plotting out an emotional wallop to boot. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of Series 2's episodes are your favourites and least favourites? And of course, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Head over to whatculture.com for more content every day. I've been Cy for Who Culture, and have a good week.